Rio International Bridge. The Del Rio mayor calls it a dire situation. Border Patrol stretched beyond the limit.
The San Antonio City Council approving a historic budget, funding for the police department, a contentious point. Tonight, activists who fought to change how much the department receives in funding are weighing in.
5 men in handcuffs tonight. The sting operation targeting child sex crimes and human trafficking. New images tonight from the border. Congressman Tony Gonzalez sharing these images from Del Rio on his social media tonight. This is a story we first talked about last night on the Nightbeat, and the number of migrants waiting under the bridge there continues to rise. Del Rio Mayor Bruno Lozano says the tally stands at 10,503 migrants, many of them Haitian.
Border Patrol agents stationed there left overwhelmed with processing the massive crowds. More manpower is expected for the area. Del Rio's mayor says many of these migrants are expected to stay in the area between 7 to 15 days minimum. Valverde Sheriff Joe Frank Martinez expressed concerns.
The situation that our agents, our Border Patrol agents, are working under are not good. There's a safety issue there. There's a health issue involved also.
The city of San Antonio says many of the asylum-seeking migrants who cross into the U.S. in Del Rio travel through the Alamo City to get to their final destination. That
destination often with other family members or sponsors who house them until their asylum case can be heard in court. San Antonio's immigration liaison noted there have been other times in the past year when we've experienced, quote, mini surges of migrants coming from Del Rio and the Eagle Pass area, end quote. That does not seem to be the case at this moment in San Antonio. Meanwhile, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announcing he was going to shut down 6 points of entry along the U.S.-Mexico border. Now that is not the case. The Texas Department of Public Safety sending out a tweet saying in part, quote, our partners have advised us that shutting down ports of entry is no longer part of their strategy, end quote. Governor Greg Abbott says he will keep crews from the Texas National Guard and the Texas Department of Public Safety around the ports of entry to deter migrants from crossing. But again, the asylum process allows for migrants to give themselves up at the border before their legal case is heard. We'll continue to follow this developing story on air and online at KSAT.com.
The coronavirus claiming the life of a local football coach. A candlelight vigil and a moment of silence held for a Ronald Reagan High School coach, Kevin Hernandez. He died September 10th at just 29 years old. The young man was not only a leader in the football field, but also in his school.
He was just basically like our role model. He was a mentor. He taught us, principles of life, how to be a better person, and just how to help those around you less fortunate or in need.
According to the high school, this school year would have marked Hernandez's 4th year with Reagan.
The death toll from the pandemic is rising. 13 new COVID-related deaths confirmed today, including that football coach. The downward trend in cases continues, though. We have less than 1,000 COVID patients in our local hospitals. Of the 960 being cared for, 22 of them are children. Commissioner Justin Rodriguez encouraging San Antonio to remain focused on masking, social distancing, and getting the vaccine.
We are, I think, singularly on a mission to defeat this pandemic, defeat COVID, and we know the way to do that is to get vaccinated. So we're not going to let anybody distract us from that mission.
1.2 million people in Bexar County are fully vaccinated, but people younger than 12 are still ineligible to receive the vaccine. And testing also another factor in helping keep the virus contained. The San Antonio Independent School District maintaining a partnership with the nonprofit Community Labs to offer testing to its students. The associate principal at the Advanced Learning Academy says this year through testing, there have been less than 10 COVID cases reported. And COVID testing has allowed students to continue with their normal everyday lives.
It's the largest budget for the city of San Antonio, and in it, the San Antonio Police Department is getting a 3% increase over its current budget and 15 more police officers. This despite many community outcries to funnel law enforcement funds to other community projects and needs. The agency, however, is taking a different approach in the way it responds to some calls for services. Civil rights activists who have been pushing for change say it's a small win.
I would have liked to see more equity, more social services programs.
No justice, no peace.
Those who've continued to carry the torch for police funding reform and accountability are trying to find the silver lining after today's budget approval.
I don't think, again, that we've gotten everything we want, but I do think that we're seeing ourselves move in a right direction.
San Antonio Police will get more than $500 million in the city's overall $3.1 billion budget. Some of that will include a shift in how mental health calls are answered, as well as animal and noise complaints. 50 new officers will be added, most of them for the SAFE unit, which proactively engages with residents to reduce crime.
We are going to be mindful and watchful of how those funds are spent.
A small step in the right direction for the city includes $25,000 to support the newly opened nonprofit Big Mama Safe House in the East Side.
Help is not on the way, it's here. And it's at the Safe House.
The ministry relies on volunteers to provide a plethora of services to the community, including case management, housing assistance, food distribution, and stopping gun violence.
We're in a different place now. We're in a different place, and the police, along with other organizations, we want to collaborate and do what's best for the people.
Civil rights advocates say they continue to move the needle forward, pressing for change in the status quo. The city manager says the biggest change in police accountability is ahead.
We're still negotiating with the police union, and our priorities, which have been set since last summer, are making significant changes to the disciplinary process. And that's making sure that officers that do completely inappropriate things, either on duty or off duty, don't have a chance to get their job back.
The negotiation in the police union contract should be wrapping up soon. The contract ends in 2 weeks. Among the biggest issues are pay, health benefits, and the appeals process for fired officers. And our coverage on the city's largest budget ever continues online. The multi-billion-dollar budget also restores many of the cuts the city made during the pandemic. That includes bringing back street maintenance funding. There are also funds designated for affordable housing and public health. We have the latest online at KSAT.com.
If you're behind on your water bill, listen up. The pandemic led to some delinquent bills being overlooked. That is not the case anymore for SAWS customers. San Antonio Water System says their moratorium will end in October. Those with past due balances on their water bills leave themselves open to being disconnected to SAWS service next month. In March of last year, 4,800 SAWS accounts were more than 2 months past due. That was $1.3 million of debt. As of August 30th this year, that debt ballooned to $42 million with 60,000 SAWS accounts past due 2 months or more. If you are past due, you can set up a payment plan with SAWS to avoid an interruption in service.
All right, we need to talk about our day today and then what we're expecting in the days ahead. We have some changes right around the corner. So 94 was our high today after a comfortable morning at 67, but we're running above average in terms of afternoon high temperatures. 94 Hondo, 95 New Braunfels, and even Cotulla 99 for the high temperature. So unseasonably warm, at least for now. We do have a cold front on the horizon. We're going to talk about that, the changes you'll feel, and the rain chances with it coming right up.
Thank you, Adam. September is Hunger Action Month, and our KSAT community partners hosting a food drive all month long. Now through the end of the month, you can drop off donations at River City Bank Federal Credit Union locations. They're accepting non-perishables like cereal, beans, rice, peanut butter, even diapers and pet food. If you'd like to donate, we have all this information on our website, KSAT.com. And tomorrow night on the Nightbeat, we're going to introduce you to a San Antonio Army veteran who found himself in need. Hunger led him to the San Antonio Food Bank, but he says it was more than just a meal he received. His message for Military City USA tomorrow on the Nightbeat at 10.
Still ahead on the Nightbeat, we are just hours away before the next meeting on booster shot. What a third shot could mean for many in the U.S. coming up.
And several local high school football teams hit the field tonight. Greg Simmons has your big game coverage. Plus, the UTSA Roadrunners have big plans this weekend. It's all coming up in sports.
And investigators go online and undercover. The sting operation that led to the arrest of a couple of men from San Antonio and others from nearby Kerrville. Next on the Nightbeat.
Social media connects us in multiple ways, and while it can link friends together, it can also open the door to darker connections. The Kerr County Sheriff's Office working with multiple agencies to go undercover and combat human trafficking, child sex crime, among other criminal activities. Some of the confrontations were with people from San Antonio. 48-year-old Cesar Alvarez and 42-year-old Jorge Picardo are being held without bond tonight. Both are from San Antonio. Investigators say Picardo resisted arrest as well. They are part of the 5 arrests that were made today. The other 3 men arrested are from Kerrville. Investigators allege the suspects were trying to meet with what they believe to be underage boys and girls.
Now to those booster shots and the decision that surrounds them amid this pandemic. The Food and Drug Administration expected to meet tomorrow. That meeting comes as more than 2,000 COVID-related deaths were reported in the past 24 hours, the highest single day in 7 months. ABC's Morgan Norwood reports the FDA will first consider if the Pfizer booster will be approved for the general public.
The battle over booster shots now in the hands of the FDA as their health experts set to review the data to decide whether vaccinated Americans will need a third shot. The discussion comes as new data out of Israel indicated an additional Pfizer shot provided 10 times more protection against COVID and severe disease. And boosters on people age 60 and older even stronger. 12 days after that third shot, the risk of severe infection was reduced by nearly 20 times.
This data is persuasive, is quite persuasive to me that it will be wise to give boosters to people over the age of 60. I am not convinced that this data is persuasive to give boosters to everybody.
If the FDA gives Pfizer's boosters the green light on Friday, a CDC panel will address the matter next Wednesday. That means the third doses could be available by next week at the earliest. Moderna is expected to seek approval for its boosters within the next few weeks. But for now, experts still have their eyes on the unvaccinated.
We have to vaccinate the 80 million Americans who are still unvaccinated. Giving more vaccine to the 180 million Americans who already been fully vaccinated is not going to change that.
Meanwhile, the Delta variant still dominating the COVID-19 caseload in the U.S. 2,000 deaths reported on Wednesday, the highest single day total in 7 months. 9 states now hitting record hospitalizations. Officials in Idaho calling the situation dire. All hospitals can now ration care if needed. And Tennessee now with the highest infection rate in the country. Out west, Seattle now joining the growing list of U.S. cities requiring COVID vaccine proof to enter restaurants, theaters, and gyms. Referring to his sweeping vaccine mandates, the president doubling down on his decision, calling Republican opposition, quote, the worst kind of politics.
It's putting the lives of citizens of their states, especially children, at risk. And I refuse to give in to it.
Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Taking a live look outside. Look at that, beautiful 80 degrees. It's a little hot in here, but.
Yeah, it is. But I learned something new about Adam Caskey today.
Uh-oh.
Patty.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
He doesn't go new car shopping. He goes new car sniffing.
Who doesn't?
Smell interesting.
Come on, I'm not the only one out there. You know,
I like the new car smell, but you said that's the only reason you go into showrooms.
So if he shows
number
up,
one reason.
If he shows up,
Sir.
he's just here to sniff.
Sir, can I help you? Do you want to buy anything? No, just sniffing.
I'm just here.
Thanks.
Yeah, my nose led me here.
Carry on. Yes, that's true. Yeah, we were live at Red McCombs Toyota earlier for Thermometer Thursday, and now we've got a cold front to talk about with it. Some rain chances and some noticeable changes. We also have some development in the tropics we want to talk about. So there's a lot going on. Let's start with the rain chances. Let's get right to it. Yeah, we could have a few pop-up showers the next several days. Basically, Friday through Sunday, 10 to 20% chance. Oh, maybe 1 or 2 rogue showers popping up. Hey, if you get hit by a downpour, go buy a lottery ticket. It's those kind of odds here the next several days. But by late Tuesday night into early Wednesday, that's when we could actually have more meaningful rainfall with the cold front that's moving into town. What we have out there right now, this is all ground clutter, by the way. That's not, and some clouds, not real rainfall that you're seeing pop up on the radar there. What we have now is this weak disturbance that's swirling in North Texas near Dallas. It's going to be drifting around tomorrow through the weekend, but we're going to be on the weak side of it, and I really don't anticipate much, if anything, from it. There's just that off chance there in the near term. We're not going to get any help from the tropics either in terms of rainfall, though there are two areas that we're watching. One way out in the Atlantic. We're talking closer to Africa. The likelihood of that turning into a tropical cyclone, maybe even becoming a named storm. And another one just basically southwest of Bermuda that has the likelihood right now, 70% chance of turning into a tropical cyclone. And again, maybe becoming a named storm. That one heading due north, paralleling the U.S. coastline. This one's still a wild card, still way out in the Atlantic, and we need a lot more time and need to wait till something actually organizes before we can get a forecast for it. Early this morning, 67, not bad. Pleasant start to the day, but we topped out at 94 degrees. That was 4 degrees above average, and you really notice the humidity out there today. Dew points well into the 60s. Right now, 64 San Antonio, but 70 degree dew point in Kennedy. So we're feeling that mugginess outside. We're still in the muggy category. If you don't like it, by the middle of next week, and even this time next week, there's going to be a big change. If you don't like this mugginess, you'll be happy by Wednesday of next week. We're anticipating the cold front to arrive late Tuesday. So right now with that current timing, by Wednesday, Thursday, even on into Friday, we're talking a noticeable change in the humidity. Those dew points fall off, they plummet, and it's a little more refreshing outside. Temperature-wise, don't break out the sweaters just yet, okay? This is an early cold front, nothing too drastic. It's not going to make it fall right away. Currently, we're near 80 degrees. 89, though, Del Rio. Some 70s in the hill country. Kerrville 76 along with Fredericksburg. New Braunfels 79. Rio Medina 77 and Seguin 78 degrees. So tomorrow we start at 70. Top out in the mid 90s again. Not much of a breeze either. Just light and variable, maybe 3 to 6 miles per hour shifting around. Oh, a lot of sunshine and that 10% chance of a stray shower. That goes for Saturday and Sunday afternoons as well. So notice how conditions really don't change in general. Friday, all the way through Monday, late Tuesday, we're expecting that cold front. And keep in mind the timing of that front is likely to change, and we will be modifying and fine-tuning these numbers a little bit. But with that 40% chance late Tuesday into early Wednesday, temperatures then also dropping down into the upper 80s most likely for highs by Wednesday and Thursday. Again, we'll be fine-tuning those numbers. Now keep in mind that that's closer to average for this time of year and not a huge temperature drop, but a big impact on the humidity.
You know, when I used to live in Oklahoma and they said cold front, it really meant a cold front. It's 80s here, but I'll take it.
80s, yeah, 80s are nice. Yes. Yeah, you take the 80s. All right. High school football tonight.
Yeah, and we have an upset in a district opener. This is taking place out in Converse tonight. When we come back, we've got all the highlights of every game played tonight. Plus, pop out at Team USA. What's up with that coming up? Here we go. It's the opening district play in 27-6A as the New Braunfels Unicorns King calling on the Judson Rockets at Rutledge Stadium tonight. Judson defense playing complimentary football. The Rockets front four putting pressure on their quarterback. Johnny Bowens chases him out of the pocket. He's trying to make a big play, but it gets picked up by Julius Calhoun at the Unicorns' 28-yard line. That would lead to this. Receiver Anthony Evans is going in motion. He gets a handoff, takes it around the outside for the 2-yard score. 7-0 Judson. But look at the final. New Braunfels comes back to upset Judson 24-21. The Clark Cougars looking to challenge the undefeated record of number 8 Brandeis in District 28-6A showdown at Fair Stadium. Cougars on the Broncos' 12-yard line. Nick Lee putting it up to Ethan Reed in the end zone for the 12-yard touchdown. 7-0 Clark. The Cougars would get the ball right back after a Brandeis turnover. They make the most of it. Running back Nikos Varelis sprints to the corner of the end zone, plows his way over the defender. Touchdown Clark. It's a 14-0 lead for the Cougars. The final from Ferris. Brandeis in a comeback. 45-34. 37-35 Broncos. This is the one we've been waiting for at Gustafson Stadium. Marshall Rams and Taft Raiders meet for a battle of the unbeatens in District 29-6A. Marshall would fall behind 20-0 in the second quarter before the Rams start to charge as Jack Koleski finding Shea Reichwein on the slant, and the 29-yard touchdown trims the Taft lead down to 6-20-14. But the Raiders fight back. Quarterback Justin Hurt takes a snap and then just takes off 52 yards of the touchdown. Let's see if Taft can hold on for the win. They do. 41-21 Raiders. The Sam Houston Hurricanes hosting the Kennedy Rockets in the district showdown at Alamo Stadium. Kennedy down 14-7 in the third when we arrive, but the Rockets were about to take off. Running back Alfredo Romero gets great blocking up front. Look at him spin out of 2 tackles on his way to the end zone. The 25-yard score tied the game at 14-all. Let's head to the big game coverage scoreboard for that final and more. Sam Houston comes back to win that one as well, 22-20. And look at Laredo Alexander over Rio Grande City, 57-0.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis.
Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy says star defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence will miss significant time following surgery to repair his broken foot he suffered during one-on-one pass rush drills during Wednesday's practice. Now he will be lucky to return to the Cowboys in November if all goes well, according to the NFL Network. And he was not the only Cowboy hurt during yesterday's practice. Defensive line coach and former Cowboy player himself, Leon Lett, had to be carted off the field when he was injured during a sled drill. Turns out he suffered a torn quad, also had to have surgery. So what does his teammates have to say about the loss of Tank, who was placed on injured reserve today?
Just immediate prayer, for him and his health, his family. Like I said, he's going to do what he has to do to get back on the field. And when he comes back, it'll be full throttle. So definitely prayers for him. I hollered at him, so he's in good spirits.
If anyone should know about coming back from an injury, it should be Jalen, of course, who took a year to recover from a devastating knee injury in his last college game. It looks as if the Cowboys will also be without the other defensive end, Randy Gregory, when they face the Chargers in L.A. on Sunday, still in COVID protocol. Houston starting quarterback Tyrod Taylor is returning to a city where he used to start at quarterback in 2018 after the Browns made Baker Mayfield the #1 pick in the NFL draft. But during their Week 3 game against the Jets, Taylor suffered a concussion, had to leave their game. Mayfield took over, led the Browns to their first win since 2016, and has been their starter ever since. So what does Taylor remember about his one season with the Browns?
Obviously, it didn't end the way that I wanted to end, but I think I grew as a person during that year, dealing with adversity, also becoming more of a vocal leader than I had before. Up until that time, I mean, that team that we had in Cleveland in 2018 was fairly young, so you had to find different ways to lead. And of course, at the time I was 28. I think I was like the third oldest on the team.
Greg Popovich out as the head coach of Team USA next. The UTSA Roadrunners kick off Conference USA play this weekend in the Alamo Dome when they host Middle Tennessee, a team they barely beat last season, 37-35. They're hoping that the crowd will be even bigger this Saturday after 16,000 made it out to the first shutout in team history. Their 54-0 rout of Lamar. Super senior, they call him, Lorenzo Dantzler, took the Roadrunners up on an extra year of eligibility thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic last year, and that's given the Roadrunners a big advantage on that defensive line.
We have way more depth this year than we had last year. Like in practice, we're even rotating guys in and out in practice. So I'll probably get like four or five reps at the most. So yeah, that's been a huge deal for us on the D-line. And we need to stay fresh for the rest of the game. So depth is a huge part.
Kickoff in the Dome on Saturday is set for 5 p.m. Spurs head coach Greg Popovich is one and done as a head coach of the U.S. men's basketball team after winning the gold medal in Tokyo following a rocky start. There were reports of players grumbling about playing Spurs style of basketball, but the new managing director of United States men's basketball, Grant Hill, hopes to have a replacement in place by October the 19th. And of course, all this comes and it fuels speculation about Pop's retirement from the NBA and the Spurs. So we'll see what's going on there.
You knew exactly what I was going to ask.
I can see it.
Does this mean something for the Spurs?
We will see.
All right. Yeah.
Thanks, Greg. We'll be right back. Well, we are nearing that time of the year. Summer is coming to an end, and soon it's going to be time for pumpkin patches. We can help you plan your trip. We put together a map with locations of some of the more popular pumpkin patches people visit in the San Antonio area. It is all online on KSAT.com.
Right around the corner.
Ooh, hard to believe. All right, temperatures tomorrow morning near 70. That means some 60s in the hill country. By the afternoon, we're talking well into the 90s again. Some upper 90s near 100 closer to the Rio Grande.
I am ready for that less hot front.
Ready
next week.
Yeah. GMSA at 4:30.
Have a great night.